Welcome to Klana's Pleasure Hour. Klana, that's me. In this show, we explore conscious sexuality, body, mind, and spirituality, and how this is connected with pleasure and our personal growth and our relationships. Discover how to have more pleasure, more harmony in your relationships, and an amazing and fulfilling sex life. Welcome to Klana's Pleasure Hour. And I am Klana, the pleasure alchemist, and I invite guests so that you can get some more information about relationships, body, mind, spirit, sensuality, and intimacy. And welcome, Jane. Great that you are here. Thank you for
It's
being
delightful.
here. Yes.
Absolutely.
So, and we met in the US, and you said immediately, yes, you come on my show, which is great. And tell me more about that bedroom model. That makes me curious.
Well, I just love the topic of intimacy, connection, romance, of course, sex being part of that, but not all of it. And what I particularly love to do is to help couples move their relationship from a situation where they feel so lost and isolated and where they lack this sense of intimacy and real fulfillment in their relationship, and move that into a place of juicy, wonderful connection. But I help them do that by thinking about sex, and kind of deconstructing it, because it can be kind of overwhelming. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole thing, just, oh, I'm not turned on. I don't want to. Well, forget it. So since it can be so overwhelming, I figured out a way to help people take the whole problem apart with this bedroom model, which is a seven steps or 7 areas of our lives where we get stuck or where we feel blocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's super fun to be able to help and guide couples through this process and look at, like, what is going on with you. So it's an acronym, has 7 different places that we get stuck, and yeah, it's super fun. Would you like to hear more about what they are, the different
Of
spots?
course.
Of course. So I'm going to go through a couple. Well, I'll just tell you the whole acronym. And but for people who are interested in learning more, they're welcome to reach out to me. We'll talk about that later in our conversation. I love talking about this. I have information I can share with you.
Yeah.
But we all think about sex as a physical act, right? It's romantic and it's physical. That's what we kind of like the limited view of it. But there's so many other pieces there, but it does start with the body. And I know you do so much beautiful work with the body, Klana, and how, you help people get in touch with their bodies and kind of feel into and create an embodied state. So many of us don't really live in our bodies, right? We're kind of
That's
like
true.
somewhere else. That doesn't really help very much when you're having sex, if you're not in the room, actually. So the first piece is B, is for body. And we do so many different things in that space around identifying and understanding ourselves as physical embodied beings. Sometimes there's serious concerns that happen with the body, sexually, for example. You might have sexual pain. You might have erectile dysfunction, difficulty getting an erection. You might have trouble maintaining an erection and not ejaculating too soon for your own satisfaction or for that of your partner. So there are a lot of things that we think about when it comes to the body. So that's the first place where we get stuck. And a lot of us understand that intuitively, right? We think, okay, it's a physical thing where you get stuck in the body. That's a problem. But then the second one is environment. And we think about, like, where, when do we like to have sex? So I don't know, did you ever see the movie Risky Business that had Tom
No.
Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay? Oh my gosh. There is this sizzling hot sex scene at the end of that movie where they're in a train. Now, I know you're in Germany and there's lots of train riding. I don't know if this is a thing there, but I think this is more of a like a metro city train. And there's just this smoking hot sex scene in that movie. And for some people, that's like a fantasy that you have some kind of risky business, something
Yeah.
that where you're in public in some way. And for others, that's not an erotic turn on. It's really more like getting into your room and having a yummy linens and beautiful draperies and a fire and so forth. So, or on the beach. I mean, there's so the environment and the
Yeah.
time of day. Yeah. What would, well, I don't know. I don't want to ask too many secrets, but anyway, there are a lot of different ways that we like, places we like to have sex and when, and maybe your person's a morning person and you're an evening person, and it has to do with clothing and all of the other accoutrements that we have that surround ourselves as sexual beings. And so that's the environment piece. We could get stuck there. I mean,
Yeah.
that happens a lot, shockingly. It's a pretty easy to solve things. Like maybe you have dogs in the bed, which is common over here in the States. I don't know if you guys have that. So many people are like, we can't have sex, we have two dogs in the bed. I'm like, well, I
Oh
could think of,
my God.
you didn't have to make a huge investment in this program to figure out that that was a thing. So anyway, then the third thing is desire. So many people kind of present as like someone who just doesn't have desire.
Mm.
Like, oh, I just don't want to. Not turned on, not aroused. That there's a lot of places that we can work on that desire and how to find desire. It starts
Yeah.
within, okay? Starts within. That's our own job, is to maintain and establish desire within our lives within ourselves that we bring to a
Yes.
partnership, right?
Exactly. That's what I always say. It starts with yourself and it's your own responsibility and not your partner's responsibility if you have an orgasm or yeah, an orgasm stands for me now for everything, not
Yeah,
just
actual
the thing
orgasm
itself.
in the
Yes,
moment.
exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, right, right. Well, that's right, and it's interesting. I'm working with a lot of men now who are having trouble accessing their desire in the
Mm.
bedroom with their partner in a live situation, and a lot of what's happening is they have so much desire when they're kind of self pleasuring, maybe while watching erotic films, porn, kind of different things that are stimulating to them, that when they get into a situation with a woman or another partner, it's really tough to translate that into
Yeah.
being present in that moment. It's really quite intriguing to me. It's really an interesting trend.
Hmm.
So then the answer to that is to, again, try to be embodied and bring your desire into the room, even, yeah, into the room
Yeah.
with your real person. And then the next piece is relationship and has to do with how our relationship impacts our sex life and vice versa. And so for many of us, we may have other conflicts in our relationship. We may
Hmm.
have other variables. We may have a communication style that is not conducive to having a good sex life. A lot of conflict, a lot of difficulty. Could even be things that are not related to sex at all, like money issues, etc. Then there's two O's. Openness is the first one, and orgasm is the second one. And we talk about, like openness to me is not, it could include, multiple partners. That happens for some people I work with, but it also is just the willingness to show up and how we feel. We can talk more about that later if you want to. Like, what are the factors that influence us, our willingness to be open to the sexual experience in that moment?
Hmm.
And then orgasm, I teach and help people figure out how to access their peak pleasure in a sexual experience, and how our limiting beliefs really affect us orgasmically, and how we think that we know how we orgasm. We think that it's a certain way, and now, okay, I'm not that kind. I don't have the body that, that does squirts. I don't have the body that, has multiple orgasms. I don't have the body that can orgasm at all. I have to do this particular thing to have an orgasm. I've never had an orgasm with oral sex. Whatever it is, that these are all limiting beliefs that we bring into the bedroom. And the final is mindfulness. So we've got to the end of the word bedroom. M is mindfulness, has to do with like the mindset piece. Sometimes people will come in with a lot of self-shaming or like self-talk that's really negative. And it also has to do with mental distraction. These are on the barrier side. And then on the side of like kind of healing, sometimes we'll use mental construct and almost like a sexual meditation or sometimes tantric practice, depending on whomever it is I'm working with, to help people to really be embodied in that moment. So how do we allow the mind to release so that we can actually have this gorgeous sexual connection with a partner?
Yeah.
That is the model.
Thank you for explaining that.
You're
And this is
welcome.
so important. How the question is how did you find that niche? Is there a story behind it?
Oh, the niche of working with couples who have significant challenges like
Yes.
that. Well, I am someone who's been married for over 30 years myself, and I have gone through this process myself in my own marriage and in my own relationship. We started out like this smoking hot couple. There's a story about us in the hospital conference room that is fun to tell. It has to do with like a note. Jim put a note in a chart. We both worked in a hospital at that time. I was a student nurse and he was a young doctor. I mean, it was right out of the movies. And and he put this note in a chart asking me to meet him on the third floor in the conference room. And, so it was, it was really risky and really fun and really remarkable that, we didn't get fired and no one caught us. But the janitor was actually rumbling by with this cart outside the door and, there was no lock. I mean, it's just crazy. So we were that couple. And then, somehow along the way, we ended up, even though we still had a good sexual relationship, we ended up losing a lot of the spontaneous, passionate portion of it. And we almost lost our marriage over it. I mean, I ended up becoming so connected to my kids that it was just, I just didn't, it was kind of, I saw it as, oh, we should do this. And we always liked it when we did it, but it just didn't feel like it was in flow in our relationship. And so that's when I created and started thinking about like, how did this happen to us? And I had always been interested in the topic, but that's how I created this process over time. I ended up getting a PhD and I ended up doing all this training around the world and learning from some of these people who have so much to offer about sex, and figured out like how it is that so many of us end up without like a connection to ourselves as sexual beings, particularly those of us who are women. It's true for men as well, but for those of us who are women, it's often easy to kind of get distracted. And culturally, American women, we do not really reinforce our own sexuality within our friendship groups usually, not when we're in the parenting role at least.
Hmm.
So that's what happened.
Thank you for sharing the story. That I
Yeah.
think that helps other people tremendously who are in similar situations, and I bet there are more of those. This is why
There's
you are
so
doing
many.
what you're doing.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you find that this is common in Germany as well?
I think so too, yeah. So these are not at the moment the people I'm working with, but I hear that, yeah, when you
Yeah.
have a longer relationship, things get somehow slower,
Yeah.
or sex disappears completely, and it's just the
Yeah.
friendship, the marriage, or however they live together,
Yeah.
which is a
So,
pity because,
yes,
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
But then what happens? Do people tend to have to go outside their relationship to find sex, or do they just become sexless in your experience?
I would say this depends on the people. You have this and that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Or what I had a male client who had that that addiction. I don't really like it, but he
Me either.
could
Yeah.
function with porn, like you
Yeah.
mentioned it before.
Uh-huh.
So he was sitting in front of the computer and had fun, but with his woman, he didn't have fun anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he came to
Right.
me with that issue,
Yeah.
and we got it going again. So that was
Oh.
great. I think that was really cool.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
How do you do that
In,
when you
in
work
in
with
that
people that
case,
way?
he came alone. Are you working with a couple together?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's also good. So in
Yeah.
this case, in his case, he came alone, and yeah, I gave him some information about how to communicate, and then
Yeah.
I work quite intuitively. So it came
Yeah.
from session to session. We tried some different things of body work, and he was very open for meditation and things. And
Yeah.
actually, one of my meditations, a movement meditation,
Yeah.
was that thing that was it.
Nice.
After
Yeah.
that, it worked well again. So that's
Nice.
cool. I love
Nice.
that.
You know, the thing about that, Klana, that's interesting to me is it's almost like, I mean, women do this as well, but we decide that there is a certain pathway to orgasmic responsiveness. And because we kind of do create it, that we only come when we have our legs straight and this exact
Hmm.
movement is happening, and if I don't have that, then you don't know how to make me come.
Yeah.
And that's a limiting belief, but it happens with men as well. Like if I watch this one video of these two, women who are doing this sexy thing that I found really erotic one time and I had an orgasm with that, then I practice it over and
Yeah.
over in that same video. Actually, people have practices where they watch, it's cueing them the same imagery. And
Mm-hmm.
so it makes sense that it gets to be kind of inculcated in our brains because it's all mind body works both ways, right? It
Yeah.
works it works the way where, oh, we use our mind to release our body, but it also can really affect us in a way where our mind is controlling the way we feel in our body. Yep. So like, okay, I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
myself this, that I need to watch these two women together in this video because that's what's so hot to me. But now when I'm with my wife, I can't. My orgasm is either I can't ejaculate, or I lose my erection, or I don't have an erection in the first place, or I don't have any arousal.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And with us women as well. So this is
totally with
where
us women
my
as well.
yeah. And as you know and mentioned, my approach is from the body. So when we do body work and the touch, then people can repattern or get rid of the old pattern. Let's say it like that, because we don't want them to give a new pattern. We want them to give more variety, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. To release the expectations. To me,
Yeah.
that is the
Oh,
biggest thing. Is
yes.
when you have like these expectations, even for a practice of two people together, or if you and your someone you're having sex with, that you have a series of activities that you do every time.
Yeah.
That is so common, and the literature supports that as well. That most couples have, like, they can actually, if you ask them separately, they can give you the sexual script for their relationship.
Wow.
Like, he approaches me, he strokes my nipple, I seem amenable, then we start kissing, his tongue comes into my mouth, and then he grabs my ass, and then we go into our room, and then it has, and then we get undressed, and then he gives me oral sex, and I give him oral sex, and then he climbs down. It's like every single piece is orchestrated.
Yeah.
Then he has an orgasm, or I have an orgasm, then he has an orgasm, then we get up, or we go to sleep, or whatever. But it's very formulaic, and no
Hmm.
wonder it's boring, because it's like,
Absolutely.
okay, we're on step 4. I wonder how long till we'll be finished because I have to go shopping.
Yeah.
Really, it's
Yeah.
like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
it becomes really challenging to have like such a limited kind of range, right, with our
Yeah.
expression.
And isn't it so much more exciting if you stay just in the present moment and let yourself be surprised of what's going to happen, what you are
Absolutely.
doing or what your partner is doing with you.
Yeah,
Ah,
it's a totally
yeah.
different experience, and it's also like such a relief to not to have to perform
Yes.
the whole thing. You know, you think, oh gosh, I'd like to connect, but I don't have enough time for everything. And
Mm-hmm.
particularly if it takes a long time to heat my partner up, and gosh, that could be 40 minutes right there. And
And
then,
exhausting.
yes, and I just don't even know. I mean, it might be embarrassing because she doesn't want to or he doesn't want to, and then I'm going to feel like a failure, so forget it.
Yeah.
And besides, by the time we're done, I mean, we're into a long session, which I love long sessions, fantastic. But it shouldn't have to be that you have to check every box
Oh,
every time,
exactly.
right?
Yes. Sometimes it can be a quickie, sometimes a little bit longer. That
Yeah.
and then there comes one of your O's into place, openness. This
Yes.
is the open communication.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
right. And also the willingness to show up, right? To initiate. So, or to be receptive. So, to like if your partner says, gives you the look or says, "Hey, I'd like to make love," or "You look fabulous. Could I touch you?" or whatever it is that's said there. What is it in you that allows you to be open to a yes?
Yeah.
And what is it that is saying no, right? So
Mm.
for a lot of us, there's this things that I call them to open with ease. So there I have a series of ease that people, places where we also get stuck. So maybe, for example, you've had experiences in your past that keep you from wanting to be open. This could be in your current relationship, or it could be something related to some kind of sexual trauma or difficulty in your life. So this can affect a lot of people that, oh, I don't want to because I
Mhm.
feel trauma from something that happened between us or in a previous part of my life. You might have another E is emotion. So you are angry. Okay? Whatever happened, I don't like that. I'm pissed off. That is just screwed. What you did, no, I don't want to have sex with you. I'm mad or I'm sad. I'm suffering grief. My mother passed away. I'm really grieving
Mhm.
still, and I don't understand why you're wanting to have sex with me. I have this feeling of so much sadness that I just want you to hold me. Very
Mhm.
reasonable, right?
Yeah.
You might have jealousy from another situation, something that's happening in your life that's causing you to feel jealous about your partner. Another one is empowerment. E for empowerment. You don't feel like your power is there in a way that allows you to say yes. You always have to do it. You feel obligated to have sex.
Yeah.
That is not hot, right?
That's
Or
true.
you want that, you don't want to have to run it, right? You want that your partner to take more charge, to like say, to be more forceful with you. I have women tell me that all the time. I want him to ravage me, but then she doesn't tell him how to do that. And he's like, well, I don't know what that means. I'm trying to be consensual, to have a consensual dynamic here. Why is it that she says ravage me when then I feel like she's asking me to kind of overstep her boundaries? They don't know how to navigate.
Mm.
And then another one that I think is so interesting is eroticism. And in that situation, maybe your partner just doesn't know how to cue you erotically. It's become boring. So you may have something that you find really hot, and your partner just doesn't feel comfortable providing it. And so or you haven't known how to ask for it.
Mm.
And it's a piece there that's missing, and you would open to sex if he or she had that hot piece for you erotically. But since it's not there, you're not really open. So all of those things come into play. And the last one is energy. So you might be really, really tired. So you may have, your partner may know how to turn you on. You may have many pieces there, but you just could be exhausted from, you maybe have a small child, or you've been working a lot on a new project at work, or you just got back from a long trip and you're doing a lot of caretaking or something along those lines, and your sexual energy and your openness is just, you just don't have it. And yet maybe your partner is very upset or shaming towards you about that, and that makes you feel really inadequate.
Yeah.
So those things, and there's so many pieces that can come into play, you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean, definitely. This is why this communication part is so, so important.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
totally is, yeah. What do you do mostly with your, when you see clients? Tell me more about what you do. I'm interested in your work as well.
Yeah, when I can see them in person,
Mm-hmm.
then mostly touch is involved.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are working online, it's a lot of talking, like we do, and
Mm-hmm.
coaching. My origin is in coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also very important that women and men alike. But my main target audience in the moment, my main people I work with are women.
Mm-hmm.
That they do what they really want to do in their life, because that's a source of one of your emotional things. If you don't do what you like, you
Yeah.
are angry, you are tired, you are all of that
Mm-hmm.
what you said. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are doing what you love to do, this basis is already different, and you have a completely different approach to your own life and to your partner's life
Yeah.
and to the relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it completely depends on what this individual's needs are. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very individual in my work.
Custom. You're a custom
Exactly,
person.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
That's what
good.
I like most.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
very sweet. And so that you, when you talk about kind of a curated life or a life where you're doing what you're meant to be doing, um, that's beautiful, because that way you feel like then your personal sense of power is coming through. And for me, that is really important for who we are as sexual beings, is
Mm.
to feel like we are owning our own sexuality. I mean, any of these places where I work with people, it's about that as well. Like that, how do you own your sexuality, your sense of being a sexual person, and be willing to show up that way, right? Because we aren't socialized, particularly in the U.S., to feel like it's okay to be a sexual person. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
huge. When we lived in Germany for a while, I remember going to the Schwimmbad, and everybody would be, at least a lot of people at that time, would be in there, kind of just naked. And we had one family member come over. He was like an elementary school age boy, and he was just like so thrown off that people were not wearing swimsuits. And and I realized it's our culture is really very puritanical over here,
Mm.
and even now we talk about being such a kind of a liberal country in some ways, but that's not true, and it's really not
Yeah.
true even in the parts of the country that are relatively speaking liberal. I'm in Oregon right now, and I was in Portland, Oregon, which is a very liberal town for the U.S. And it's still extremely strange for people to be open about sexuality.
That's exactly my experience. So
Mm-hmm.
I love the US, and especially Austin in Texas, which is similar to Portland, what I've
Yeah,
heard. They have the same slogan: keep Austin weird and keep
yeah.
Portland weird.
Keep Portland weird. Yeah,
Yes. So
yeah,
they are quite open there.
yeah.
And when it comes to sexuality, it is really not easy.
That's
Yeah.
right. And if yeah, that's really true. For example, the other day I went on Airbnb, and I decided to provide an experience, an Airbnb experience. Do you know how they have that? You can go, and maybe you are an art docent and you want to take someone on a special tour uh, to a museum, for example. That would be an experience, and somebody can
Ah,
hire you for that. Yeah, so check it out. So I thought it would be fun. I teach couples how to kiss, because I have this special like steps to the perfect kiss.
Cool.
It's very fun, yes. And so I thought, oh, this would be great for couples on a romantic weekend. They can come to my office and I'll teach them how to kiss. I don't actually kiss them, I have them kissing each other. And then we can go, there's a little lingerie shop around the corner, and I'll be like a personal shopper for them to get some sexy thing to take back to the hotel or the little inn that they're staying in. And I thought that would be so fun, and it's very low-key, romantic. And Airbnb said it did not meet their community standards. Yeah,
This is unbelievable.
not okay.
Yeah.
Not okay. It's like, wow, come on, Airbnb. I thought you guys were like a edgy tech company, but not so much. Not when it comes to sex. So
No.
anyway.
And
nothing
even the
sexual.
word pleasure is, I mentioned it here several times already, the word pleasure is already dangerous to use.
It is totally dangerous.
Facebook didn't let me use the word pleasure.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. Right. So what did you end up doing?
I took off the E at the end.
Oh.
I misspelled it.
Oh, and so it didn't
Pleasure
come into their...
Alchemist. I wanted to have the Pleasure Alchemist on my business page.
Yes.
And now it's just the R of the pleasure and then the alchemist. And then they couldn't see.
It didn't know, because they have certain things that are in their algorithm that won't be allowed.
But
I know, that's interesting.
pleasure is not only, for me, pleasure is not only related to sex, but okay.
It's okay. Yeah, you
just
just have
like
to
it,
figure
yeah.
out how to help people find
Go
your
around.
work.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's funny to be us and like, like, wait a minute, I think it's going to be okay, but they're fearful. And I understand that. I mean, people do not want to they want to keep their community safe, and I totally respect that.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting thing to see how that goes. Yeah. What are we going to do?
Well, my mission is to get that taboo out of that sexuality topic, so that everybody can live the sexuality that they want and they need. Always consensual, of course.
Yeah.
But this is okay.
I agree. I agree.
Too much into that.
De-shaming sex is a huge part of that. That's actually is what I am doing, is helping people create their own inner healing around what they've been taught about themselves as sexual beings, and be able to have a conversation and be able to just like recognize that just because they get turned on, that does not mean they're a bad person. It's actually a beautiful, wonderful part of their beingness, is like to access your turn on is so fabulous.
And Jane, isn't it somehow exciting, and not always in a sexual way, but if you have a sensual person around you, this is fun, isn't it? It's way more fun than the other way.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and if you when you bring playfulness to it, is really fun.
Exactly.
And I think that we're so serious about everything that and I think we live in a lot of fear that somehow sexuality is going to get out of control. That we'll like get turned on and then we won't be able to stop or something like that. I don't know. It's like, I will never leave my room. Although I am in my room right now, but I do leave my room quite often. So, that somehow we won't be functional. I don't know what it is. Is it like, are we fearful that our relationships can't handle it? What is it?
I don't know. I think if that was the case, that everybody could live their sensuality, sexuality, what they want, and they get what they need, then I would even go so far to say there are no wars anymore. But then I'm not so much of a political person, but I would say in that case, we wouldn't be on the leash anymore, so we would let go, and that's the problem, maybe why they forbid it.
Maybe. Maybe so. I
I
don't
don't know.
know. I think
But
it's
don't let's go there. So just
okay.
let us do our job and help the people who are open and ready to
Yeah,
do something, to have more pleasure in their lives, to have
yeah,
more sensuality, more sex, and
yeah,
fulfilling sex
yeah.
in their
Right.
lives.
Something that
Let's
can
help
really
them.
makes them feel connected and
Exactly.
alive. And when you wake up in the morning, you have like you feel like you are understood and that someone is greeting you,
Yeah.
right? That you are greeted and welcomed as your whole self, not
Mm,
just the part from the neck up, like, okay, your ideas are great, but actually your whole embodied self. I love that.
absolutely. Yes.
And it's not awkward, because so
No.
many couples, it feels like it's awkward to talk about sex. It's shocking. I mean, they've been married 8 years and they just can't talk about it because it feels too uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or
We haven't
48
learned.
years.
We haven't learned it. That's the thing.
Exactly.
That
I totally
yeah.
agree. We have no context. And actually, we've
Yeah.
been lied to about it. We've been told if you don't, it's kind of hands free. Just don't talk about it. If you love each other, get in the bed, everything will be great.
Yeah.
Just to,
Automatically.
don't automatically. You don't say anything about it.
And
Just
and
like,
that's just not true.
right.
We need to
So
learn good sexuality as we need to learn every other skill.
we
Okay,
had a frozen
Jane,
moment.
I thank you
Yes.
so much for being here, but let people know who want to connect with you. You offer a free session,
Strategy session.
a discovery
Yes.
session or a
Yes.
strategy session, that's too?
Yes,
Yeah.
well, it's an honor to talk with people who are struggling with this particular set of situations. So, if you are a person who loves your partner, but you are not feeling like you know how to navigate the sexual piece, so you've become kind of more great friends, roommates, but the lover piece or the passionate lover piece is not happening. I would be honored to have a conversation with you, and it's my gift to you. Um, I just I love being able to create a space for you to have a conversation about like what it would look like if that were actually working in your life. If I had a magic wand and I could wave it over your relationship and all of a sudden you and your partner knew how to make love together, create connection, and feel really, really deeply and passionately in love again, even maybe for the first time for some, that would be wonderful for
Yeah.
me to be able to share my time with you. I have a few, I can't talk to everybody, but I do have, a certain number of sessions available through my assistant, and I'm happy to offer them to, some people who are here on the call today. And the way to find that is to go to howtofixmysexlife.com. That's my website. And
So
in there, you'll just see like have talk with me, and it's confidential and it's complimentary. It's a gift to you, and yes, I'd love to talk with you. If you
yes.
feel like this message is calling you today.
Wonderful, Jane.
Yeah,
I am happy having had you here. Sometimes
it
I'm
was so much
struggling with my
fun.
English.
We did it. We
And
managed to do it.
yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
it's a
my
delight.
dear,
Yes,
and hope to see you soon. Bye
yes,
bye,
absolutely.
everybody.
Bye bye.